Okay. Nope.
I'm sorry.
A fun day. Chapter 1. A fun day. A fun day. Story? A fun day. By Don't Wanna Know. A fun day. So then, said Twilight Sparkle, looking around the library table, the vote is unanimous. 5 heads nodded in dissent. Then by the power vested in me by the mostly consensual thing Celestia does to me during our study sessions, I declare the motion passed. Hear, hear, Applejack pounded on the table. Now, Twilight continued, there is a matter of how we do it. Any suggestions? Hello? Rainbow Dash waved a pistol in the air. I got no problem with that, said AJ. Will it be loud? I don't like loud noises, Fluttershy muttered almost audibly. You can always wear earplugs, Rarity chimed in. I know I will. But what about my idea? Pinky interjected, bouncing up and down in her seat. Bake her into a cake? Twilight pondered. Alive, Pinky grinned. Why pass up a perfectly good opportunity for torture by ending it so quickly with a gun? But who would eat that cake? I know for a fact she tastes terrible. Dash countered. Snickers. What? So I molested her a little. Big deal. I've sexually assaulted all of you at least once. Yes, dear. No, we're grown mares, Rarity chided her. Raping a little filly is just poor taste. Oh my gosh, so that's why she was walking funny last week, Pinky laughed. Alright, give me like 2 seconds to close my door here.
Yeah!
Okay. Where was I? Let's see. Poor dear, raping a little fairy. Oh my gosh, that's why she brought us. Okay, here we go. Yep, Dash smiled devilishly. I managed to get a beer bottle up her. You guys were getting sidetracked, Twilight sighed in exacerbation. Then I kicked her real hard in the flank and the bottle broke. You should have heard the sound she made. I didn't even know a pony could. Damn it, Rainbow, Twilight was getting pissed off. We don't care about your pedophilic... whatever that word is. Torture sessions. Dash stuck her tongue out. Look, y'all, I love torture just as much as the next pony, but can we get a move on here? Applejack pleaded. Every moment I know she's still alive, I die a little inside. Then I get drunk and beat up Apple Bloom, which always seems like a bright idea at the time, but then she's usually in the hospital for a day or two, and I have to do all the really crappy chores I always pawn off on her. I'm already dead inside, Fluttershy mumbled. Page 2, just a second. There we go. We know, dear, Rarity patted her on the head. That's why we don't feel bad when we treat you like the sack of garbage you are. So any other suggestions besides guns and cake? Twilight tried to steer the conversation back on course. Guns are out as Pinky crossed her arms. You can't torture someone with a gun. Bullshit, said Dash. Have you ever shot someone in the shin with a high-powered revolver? The bone splitters and perforates the skin. It's epic. Why don't we just wing it, suggested Rarity. We can each bring our own weapon of choice and try all of our ideas, you know? Really draw it out and inflict as much pain as possible. Now see, that sounds like the best course of action to me, Twilight assented. I'm game, said Rainbow, but you guys gotta let me finish her. I mean, come on, you know I deserve it. Well, she does bother you the most. I suppose it's only fair, Twilight said thoughtfully. Can I tell you guys she actually said I love you to me the other day? Dash spat in disgust. I mean, that alone should give me dibs on the big finish. And that's not even the worst part. While she was in the hospital, I thought it would be fun to, like, go through her stuff and maybe pull up some really embarrassing things out of her diary. And I found this. The Cyan Pegasus produced a scrap of notebook paper and slammed it on the table. Did I tell you guys she... Oh wait, nope, the other part. Wow, Twilight mused. Who knew she could draw so well? On the piece of paper was a full-colored pen and ink drawing of the two Pegasi, a big blue one with a rainbow mane and the smaller orange one with short, bright purple locks. They were curled up and together in a loving embrace, eyes closed in bliss. Framing the two ponies was a stylized heart, under which was written a single word, forever. There were spots at the bottom where the blue lines of notebook paper were blurred and the ink had run. Ha! Rarity chortled after examining the page. She was crying when she drew it. You all know I'm the Rompicure, of course, and yet even I feel nauseous. I didn't even notice that. Dash shook her head furiously. Ugh, that little cunt. Ahem! Rarity cleared her throat loudly. Whoops! Rainbow Dash said apologetically. Sorry, I forgot that's your special name for Sweetie Belle. Not to worry, the white unicorn replied. It's not as if she's here. I just want you to get the habit of calling any filly that. If I want Sweetie Belle to kill herself before she ruins my shop, I have to convince her that she's a special type of worthless. How's that all going, by the way? Applejack inquired. Quite well, Rarity beamed. I just keep blaming her for anything that goes wrong, calling her horrible things, and setting her up for failure in everything I ask her to do, and she looks like a little more hollow each day. I even found a razor blade stashed in her journal recently. The only annoying bit is all of the late-night sobbing fits and the desperate attempts to please me, though some of those I can use, turning the page, to my advantage. How so? AJ seemed genuinely interested. Oh, well, you know, whenever she makes me some drawing or poem, or tries to sing me a song, I tell her how awful and talentless she is. It's not the most effective way to deride her. In fact, it backfires sometimes when she takes my criticism to heart and actually tries to do better the next time. But I'm wearing her down. Last time I checked, there were definitely some bloodstains on that razor blade. See, I'm looking for advice, seeing as Applebloom's starting to outlive her usefulness, the farm pony explained. She's still young, and she's got a strong back, but between the beatings and the way me and Big Mac work her, she'll be crippled before we know it. And I ain't taking care of her when that time comes. When my older sister was out, Mom and Pa just took her out into the woods and shot her. Thanks to Lexi, they died before they ran me into the ground. I'll do the same to Applebloom if I have to, but if I can just get her to off herself, it'd be a lot more entertaining. Certainly, Rarity agreed, but why don't we chat more about it later? I believe we've been dominating the conversation. Yeah, this isn't fair. This is your freaking tea party, an irritated Rainbow Dash yelled at Applejack and Rarity. We were talking about this, she waved for the drawing about, and how I'm the one who gets to finish her off. If I may, Twilight raised a hoof as Pinky opened her mouth to protest. I do think you've got the right. You've suffered through more of her obnoxiousness than all of us combined. Damn straight, I want to see the light fade from her eyes. I want her to know it was me. But Dashy, what about the cake? Pinky looked deflated. Pinky, I think we should give this one to Rainbow Dash. If that's okay with you, Fluttershy trailed off. Yup, much as I'd like to pull the coup de grace myself, I think Dashykins deserves this one, Applejack admitted. She's been putting up with that little sack since day one. Fine, I'll just bring my cleaver, Pinky huffed. AJ, don't call me that in public. Dashykins, Applejack leered at her mare friend. You guys, it's getting... have time for another one of their lover spats, Twilight grumbled. If we want to get this done today, we should get a move on. I agree with Twilight, said Rarity. Why don't we go with some preferred accoutrements and meet in the town square in a half hour? She's always somewhere around there. The others nodded and began rising from their seats. They filed up the library door and headed towards their respective homes. Woo! Scooter let out a delighted squeal as she flew through the air on her scooter. Someone had left a wooden plank propped up against an old rain barrel, and it had made for a perfect jump. She felt so alive, and galloping up to hug the cyan mare. Dash held out a hoof and stopped her. What's wrong? The tiny Pegasus asked, and worry creasing her brow. Suddenly she realized all of Rainbow's friends were there too. Hey guys, what's up? Is there a party? Yup, Pinky confirmed. Well, where's that? Where at? Let's go. She buzzed her little wings eagerly. The party's right here, Sugar Cube, AJ replied cryptically. I'll keep this short. We need to get down to business. Dash cleared her throat. Scoot, we've had enough. We all hate your guts, especially me. The little pony's lavender eyes flitted around, looking at Dash and her friends in confusion. Is this another prank, Rainbow Dash? She asked, her voice quivering. Nope. We really hate the living fuck out of you. Dash grinned. Scoot's ears went flat, and she stepped back instinctively, her eyes tearing up. You don't mean that, right? Are you stupid? I just said it twice. Dash was getting progressively more irritated. Anyway, we don't want you around anymore. How can you say that, Rainbow Dash? The fairy sat down and hung her head, her lip quivering, teardrops patting against the dirt. Do you all hate me? She asked, looking up hopefully at the other ponies. Yup, quite. I'm afraid so. Yes, we do. There was a long pause, and the little Pegasus spoke, doing her best to hide the sobs that racked her body. Well, fine then. I'll just go away. At that she broke down, weeping uncontrollably, tears streaming down her face like waterfalls, staining her fur. Suddenly something connected with her muzzle, and she went tumbling backwards, head over heels. When she righted herself, Dash was standing over her. You hurt me. Why, Rainbow? Why? Another philosoph was coming on, but Dash clamped her, turning the page. hoof over Scootaloo's mouth, smiling as blood trickled out her nose. If you cry more, I'll do it again. But I love you, Rainbow Dash. What have I ever done to you? Are you serious? Dash put a dopey look on her face and launched into her best Scootaloo impression. Teach me to fly, as if you ever could. Come watch my stupid scooter tricks. Wake me up from your nap and hang out with me. Help me get my cutie mark, and then this. Dash shoved Scootaloo's drawing into the little filly's face. Her eyes widened as her pain was compounded with total mortification. Dash crumpled the paper and then stomped it in the dirt. The orange Pegasus wilted like a dying flower, releasing a fresh downpour of tears. Honestly, do you not understand how intolerable you are? I'm so sorry. No, sorry, don't cut it. Fine, I'll go away, and you'll never see me again. Scootaloo's sudden anger did little to match the heartbreak in her voice. Oh no, you're not going anywhere. Dash crackled a trademark smirk. Slowly a look of terror cut through the pain in the little filly's eyes as Rainbow Dash and the other ponies leered and grinned at her. She turned tail and began to run, but it was immediately enveloped by a purple glow. Twilight Sparkle suspended her in the air. She kicked and squirmed and flapped her wings, but soon realized she was really going nowhere. Slow down? Okay. Okay, I'll slow down. As soon as...
Selling the anger if anyone is interested.
Okay. Oh no you don't, Twilight laughed. She lifted Scootaloo up in the air about 20 feet and dropped her. Her useless wings buzzed as she fell and hit the ground like a brick. There was an audible snap as something broke. That should disorient her for a moment, Twilight said.
Selling the anger
now
for 3 ref. Trade me.
Shut up. Where was I? This should disorient her for a moment, Twilight said. Now let's get started. It was quickly apparent that she'd underestimated the filly. Scootaloo was back on her feet in an instant, rushing towards her scooter, hoping to make an escape. Twilight once again magicked her into a halt, floating the little Pegasus as well as her prized possession back over to the group. Well, said the purple mare, you won't be needing this anymore. She lifted the scooter up with her magical aura and then sent it slamming into the earth. The handlebars and steering shaft snapped and the wheels came off, one of them rolling a few feet before coming to rest in the dirt. Scootaloo watched in disbelief, her weeping shaking her entire body, forcing out soft little whines as she floated helplessly in Twilight's grip. Enough dicking around, Enough dicking around, Pinky declared. She bounced up and grabbed the little pony out of the air and threw her into the ground. She brought her hoof down hard on Scootaloo's back, twisting it into her spine. There was a ragged wheeze as all the air was crushed out of her lungs. Pinky kicked her in the flank, flipping her over, and held her in the place with a hoof on her ribcage. Grinning ear to ear, the pink mare produced her favorite meat cleaver, and unceremoniously began hacking at one of the filly's back legs. An ear-splitting squeal echoed throughout Ponyville Square as the bone shattered and the leg was severed. Several passers-by looked over in concern, but upon realizing it was just Scootaloo, they laughed and continued upon their way. Damn it, Pinky, now she's gonna bleed out, Dash yelled in frustration. Don't worry, Twilight piped up. I've been practicing a fire spell. I can cauterize it. She lowered her horn. The stump that had been Scootaloo's left hind leg began to glow red. Another throat-ripping screech escaped from the orange Pegasus. Spittle and blood sprang from her mouth as the force of the scream tore at her vocal cords.
Oh my goodness. To the person in the chat who was telling Colt to shut up, this is an event. You literally made me vent.
Why am I reading this? Okay. Alright. I'm going. Oh, it smells awful, Rarity commented.
This is an event. We made event so we could read this. Please,
everyone's in the server for me to read this.
For me to shut up.
Camel.
It's literally a fucking event.
Ugh, it smells awful, Rarity commented as the glow died and the smell of charred flesh and fur filled the air. Scootaloo spasmed in pain, wetting herself and voiding her bowels. Oh my, said Fluttershy, now it smells worse. Scootaloo wept even harder as her agony was coupled with this new humiliation. All composure was lost. She curled up like a little trembling little foal, hiding her big glossy eyes behind her tiny hooves, squeezing out fresh tears as she shut them tight as could be. She wrapped her tail around her quivering body, burying her face in the long purple locks, her cries soft and sorrowful. That's disgusting! Dash raged, kicking the filly in the head a couple of times, splitting her cheek open. If you do that again, I'll break another If you do that again, I'll break another beer bottle in your ass. Scootaloo moaned in anguish. Please stop! Please! She begged, her words punctuated by heavy sobs. It hurts so much! I'm sorry! Whatever I did, please stop! Her voice is so obnoxious, Rarity huffed. Allow me to remedy the problem. She reached into her saddlebag and produced 2 items, a spool of thick thread and a needle only slightly smaller than an ice pick. As Pinky held Scootaloo down, Rarity went to work, sewing her mouth shut. The little pony started quivering and sweating as shock began to set in. By the time the white unicorn had finished her work, she was unconscious. A moment later came a muffled scream as Pinky jammed an adrenaline shot through the filly's chest and straight into her heart. There was much thrashing and many guttural noises? Guttural noises, but the stitches held and her lips remained shut. Much better, Rarity smiled. Ooh, can I take them now? Pinky begged. Go ahead, Pinks, I'll hold her down. Dash encouraged her. This time the party pony produced a skinning knife and knelt down next to Scootaloo's flank. Her cutie mark, a little scooter with tiny wings attached, was barely gold, still glistening with residual magic. She had been so proud when it appeared, and the mares were sick to death of hearing about it. Pinky began carefully cutting under the epidermis. A new wave of tears poured from the mutilated filly's eyes as she watched Pinky rob her of her precious marks, first from one flank, then the other. The pink pony made sure not to completely separate the skin from the underlying tissue, delighting in the wet ripping sounds as she tore the flaps of flesh off like band-aids. Scootaloo seized, foam and blood escaping from her nostrils and the spaces between the stitches in her lips. Pinky also took the opportunity to hack off the filly's other back leg, severing the femoral artery first and letting the warm blood spray all over her. Oh, Pinky dear, you're certainly going to need a bath at us, Rarity said in disgust. Oh, lighten up, Rarity. It's not going to kill me, the others laughed. Oops, better burn this one before she croaks. Twilight performed her fire spell once again. Searing the stump, the bleeding stopped, but Scootaloo went limp. Shucks, don't tell me she's dead already. Applejack kicked the seemingly lifeless body. I'll fix it, said Pinky, who in true Pinky fashion had somehow found the time to make a pair of earrings out of the 2 cutie marks. They now dangled on either side of her head, flopping about as she bounced. Page 7. 2 more adrenaline shots caused the little filly to explode back into consciousness. Once again they had misjudged her incredible will to survive. In desperation she flipped over her stomach and began using her remaining legs to drag herself away, leaving a snail trail of smeared blood and bodily fluids as she inched along, grunting and moaning in pained determination. The 6 mares laughed hysterically in this futile effort. Applejack trotted over to the and began stomping on one foreleg, then the other. Her immense strength shattering the bones inside the forcing splinters through her skin. Scootaloo let out a mournful wail so forceful her stitched-up lips tore apart, splattering AJ with small droplets of blood. "Consarn it!" the farm pony exclaimed. "You've gone and stained my coat. Blood's... fine. You've gone and spoiled... wait, fuck, where am I? You've gone and stained my coat. Blood's mighty hard to get out. Don't you know, you little varmint?" She kicked Scootaloo in the neck, causing her to choke and vomit. Please, just let me go, she wept, her voice ragged, a soup of drool and stomach acid spilling from her ruined lips. "I know it's all my fault. I promise I'll go away forever." Fluttershy had brought a small shovel and was busy cleaning up all the blood and excrement the traumatized filly had left in her wake. She scooped up the vomit as well and held the dusty, noxious mixture up to Scootaloo's mouth. "Time for you to eat. Time for you eat." That's some good writing right there. The yellow mare said cheerfully, as if she were talking to one of her animals. Scootaloo retched and turned her head. Fluttershy grabbed one of her velvety, soft little ears, twisting and tearing the sensitive cartilage. When Scootaloo opened her mouth to cry out, Fluttershy jammed the shovel down her throat, but she refused to swallow. Now, don't be difficult, the older Pegasus cooed tenderly. She pushed the shovel in as hard as she could, using her other hoof to pinch the struggling filly's nose shut. Unable to breathe, she was eventually forced to swallow, but she immediately threw up again. Fluttershy clamped her mangled mouth closed. Her eyes rolled back and tremors racked her body as the vomit forced its way out her nostrils, the acid searing her mucous membranes. The second Fluttershy released her, she puked again. Frustrated, the yellow Pegasus kicked her in the face, the tip of her hoof smashing into the little one's eye. Scootaloo let out an otherworldly yowl as her eyeball was crushed, blood and vitreous fluid squirting out from the socket. Fluttershy added these new liquids to their blend and once again forced it down the filly's throat. She heaved violently and spewed again. Fluttershy repeated the process until Scootaloo's stomach muscles grew too weak to expel the wretched mixture. Well, girls, it looks like we've all had our turn. Twilight looked about in satisfaction. Rainbow, would you like to perform the coup de grace? My pleasure, Dash bellowed, low to her friends. Hey, Pink, can you wake her up again? I want her to feel every moment of this. Okie dokie okie, Pinky produced a massive syringe. She had clearly planned for something like this, and jammed the needle into Scootaloo's chest. A deafening, high-pitched shriek signaled the filly's return to consciousness, the massive adrenaline injection causing her to feel every single tortured nerve in her body. To everyone's surprise, she made one last truly desperate escape attempt, buzzing her tiny wings. Whether it was the adrenaline, pure terror, or both, she actually managed to lift off, hovering about 6 feet off the ground. Wow, Dash remarked. That's the best she's ever done. Though she struggled with all her might, Scootaloo could barely move faster than a normal walking pace. Generally intrigued, the 6 mares followed her as she fought for her life, giggling at her doomed attempt to flee. After about 10 yards, every ounce of energy was spent as she crashed face first into the cobblestones of Ponyville's side streets. Fresh blood trickling from her mouth and wound eye and socket. Pinky, can I borrow your cleaver? Dash asked. Rainbow Dash, Scootaloo managed to speak. Please, I don't want to die. Too bad, Pink. Rainbow Dash laughed. She flipped the little pony over onto her back and held down one of her wings. Wait, no! That was, yeah, I'm an actor, guys. I'm for her. To her amusement, Dash realized that Scootaloo had, up until this point, actually thought she might make it out alive. She just chuckled and raised the cleaver. Rainbow, no! Please, not my w-. The frantic plea turned into a long wail as the blade came down. Where was I? Oh, I lost my spot. Okay, there it is. As the blade came down, severing the little orange wing. When Dash moved to take the upper wing, Scootaloo no longer protested. She just looked away, resigned, crying softly. As Dash prepared for her final strike, she heard a tiny whisper. I love you, Rainbow Dash. When she was done, Rainbow smacked the filly several times until she looked up with her one remaining eye, bloodshot from weeping and bursting capillaries. Rainbow Dash held a little wing in each hoof, flapping them playfully about. So much for the Wonderbolts, eh, Scoot? She chuckled. Please, just kill me, Scootaloo whimpered. Satisfied but slightly perplexed, Dash looked back at her friends. I was sure she'd be dead by now. I figured the physical mutilation plus the emotional trauma would just make her sorta give out. How the hell is she still alive? I mean, I could just blow her brains out, but that seems so anticlimactic. Any ideas? Oh, Pinky bounced. How about cake? Oh my god. Guys, my voice is squeaking a lot, and it's awful. I'm sorry. Forgive me, please. Scootaloo awoke with a rasping, guttural howl as a massive electric shock tore through her body, jump-starting her heart and causing all her muscles to contract, her body singing a chorus of anguish as every single one of them locked into a tight cramp. Do it again! Do it again! She recognized Rainbow Dash's voice as it pierced through the throbbing wave of hurt inside her skull. What happened? But her heart's beating now. Despite all of her ragged nerves, she could feel Pinky's hoof against her chest. She made a feeble attempt to brush it away, but when she moved her foreleg, nothing happened. She tried again. Nothing. She let her head roll to the side. There was no leg. Her shallow breathing intensified as she turned to the other side. No leg. In an instant, the wave of horrible memories washed the haze out of her consciousness, and sheer terror gripped her as she thrashed, searching for any remaining appendage. They were gone. No legs, no wings. She was nothing more than a torso and a head. As the horror set in and her mind continued to clear, she could feel the searing pain in each truncated limb. She began to hyperventilate. Oh my god, that is priceless! Rainbow Dash was on the verge of hysterics. Look at all those wiggling stumps! We should put her on the floor and see if she can move. Oh yeah. By the way, Scoot, Dash finally addressed her, we had to chop your front legs too. The way AJ smashed him, you were just bleeding too much. And we weren't gonna let you take off that easy. If it's any consolation, you look hilarious right now. I think this is the first time I've ever enjoyed spending time with you. For the first time in her short life, Scootaloo prayed. She prayed to Celestia that it might end, and that she would slip away. She willed herself to die, her thoughts crying out for the mercy of oblivion. Oh no you don't, Pinky said, rubbing the two petals of the defibrillator together. Fluttershy, see that red knob? Turn that all the way up. She was almost there. Scootaloo felt the world begin to darken, felt numbness begin to engulf her. Her heart slowed. Thump! A second shock, twice as powerful as the first, made her convulse violently, ejecting the contents of her stomach, bowels, and bladder, forcing the air from her lungs. A fountain of blood squirted out from the hollow eye socket. Ew! Yikes! Oh my! Rarity, Twilight, and Fluttershy managed to dodge the barrage of bodily fluids. The rest were not so lucky. Pinky and AJ didn't seem to mind. The former grinning psychotically as the blood rained down on her face. The latter having already resigned to the fact that she'd need a long shower after this. Rainbow Dash, however, was furious, wiping a foul-smelling goo off of her face, her mane stained brownish red. Didn't I tell you what would happen if you did that again? She fumed, glaring daggers at the one-eyed ball that had already been a filly. Where was I? Crap. Somebody give me a beer bottle. All I have here is some wine, Pinky said, rummaging through the fridge behind the counter of the sugar cube counter. Works for me. Dash took the bottle and downed the contents. Okay, AJ, hold her down for me. Sure thing, Dashykins. Dash shot her a venomous look, but it only held for a few seconds before she cracked a smirk. Applejack smiled back, happy to assist her merry friend on this momentous occasion. The neck of the bottle went in easily enough, but as it widened, Dash had to really force it, inch by inch. Scootaloo squealed with each push, her whole body shuddering, every cauterized stump waggling about desperately. She was beyond crying or sobbing now. She just kept screaming and begging for mercy. I can't stand it anymore, Rarity wadded up a dish towel she'd found and stuffed it in Scootaloo's mouth, meaning her please. The little Pegasus could only look up at her, wide eyes silently beseeching her to make it stop. Rarity just shook her head. This is all your fault, you know. Meanwhile, Dash was struggling to force the wine bottle up the filly's ass. She steeled herself and gave one last shove with all her might. It was a good thing Rarity had gagged Scootaloo, because the squealing would have been ear-piercing. Oh god, this was... Okay, this is probably the crowning line of this fiction right here, guys. Where is it? Her anal sphincter snapped like a broken rubber band, creating a gaping hole from which her traumatized intestines flopped out. Whoa! Was all Rainbow Dash could say for a moment. Then she turned to her pink friend who was bouncing with joy. What now? This is more your area of expertise, Pinky. Ooh, Oh, watch this. It'll be super cool. Pinky removed the wand bottle and situated the little Pegasus so her plot was just at the edge of the counter. Then she grabbed the end of the intestinal tract. Ready? The others nodded. The party pony yanked hard. It was like watching a hose uncoil as foot after foot of intestine spilled out into the floor with a series of squishing and splattering noises. My word, Rarity exclaimed. How does that all fit into such a tiny body? Pony physiology is an amazing thing, Twilight told her. I have many books on the subject if you... Thank you, dear, but I think I've seen quite a knife for a while, Rarity laughed. Scootaloo's innards finally stopped coming, and Pinky severed the organ, leaving just half a foot of floppy digestive tract hanging from what had once been the filly's anus. Hey, look at this, said Dash, poking her deflated belly. She's gone all flat. The cyan mare kept poking and prodding in amusement. Scootaloo appeared to be unconscious again, but her body spasmed each time Rainbow jabbed it. Is she dead? Fluttershy asked quietly. Nope, 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 Pinky beamed. You'd be surprised what you can take out of a pony without killing her. As long as she has lungs in her heart and she doesn't bleed out, we can keep this party going all night. Of course, she'll die eventually without her balls, and if we remove her liver and kidneys and stuff. But as long as we're careful and we can make her last a few more hours at least. How do you know so much about physiology, Pinky? Twilight was honestly curious. Oh, Grandpappy Pie was a coroner, doing autopsies and all that. He tried to teach me my dad the trade, but Daddy could never stomach the blood. That's why we ended up on that dumb old rock farm. I loved it, though, and he taught me all about it. Before I discovered parties, dissection was the only fun part of my life. Well, I'll be, AJ smiled. Our little cupcake baker's a real doctor. Oh no, Pinky shook her head modestly. It's just a hobby of mine. I like making tasty treats way more. The friends all laughed. Speaking of which, it's almost time for cake. That is if you don't mind, Dashy. You know, Pinks, as much as I wanted to finish her, I'm liking your idea better. You have my blessing. Let's do it together, Pinky suggested, readying her defibrillator once more. Scootaloo was shocked awake one final time. Through a haze of pain, she felt this strange emptiness inside her. Then the memories came flooding back once more. Weak, choking sobs began to shake her. She didn't bother to open her eyes. Then she heard that familiar voice. Scootaloo! Scoot! Are you alright? It sounded like you were having a terrible dream. The filly opened one eye to see Rainbow Dash peering down at her, a look of deep concern on her face. You were screaming and hollering. We were so worried. I dreamt that you and AJ and the others were hurting me. It had all been just a bad dream. Scootaloo sighed in relief. I'd never hurt you, Scootaloo. I love you, Dash told her softly, a warm smile on her face. You do? The little pony's heart fluttered with hope. Like, love me, love me? Tears of joy were running down her cheek. Yes, Dash said sweetly, stroking the little one's mane. Scootaloo was filled with elevation as she reached her hooves up to hug her beloved Rainbow Dash. She had no legs. Ah, gotcha! The older Pegasus laughed. Scootaloo was momentarily confused. Then she managed to raise her head ever so slowly and look down at her body. It was a limbless, wet, empty bag. She screamed in heartbreak, despair, and misery, then began weeping harder than she had ever in her life, curling up into a quivering lump. Wow, Dash, that was inspiring, Twilight commended a friend. If you don't make a Wonderbolt, as if, Dash exclaimed haughtily. You could be a great actor, the purple unicorn finished. Why, Rainbow, why? Scootaloo howled. I love you so much! And I hate you! The Pegasus spat the words into the tormented filly's ear. Pinky, let's make a cake. Here we are! Pinky placed the giant cake down in the center of the table. It looked delicious except for the tip of an ear and a little bit of charred purple mane sticking out of the top. Scootaloo had fought until the bitter end as Pinky tried to drown her in cake batter. The protruding body parts were, however, quickly covered by a generous lathering of frosting. I just can't believe how long she lasted in that oven, Applejack soon, genuinely impressed. She was hollering in there for at least 10 minutes. The mares had watched in fascination though the oven window as Scootaloo was slowly cooked to death, squirming, wailing, and thrashing her little stumps. The last thing she ever saw was her cherished mentor, Rainbow Dash, staring at her with a wide grin of satisfaction. The image slowly going dark as her lungs were scorched and her death rattle sent her sinking into the cake batter. She always was one tough cookie, Dash admitted. Now she's one tough cake, Pinky beamed. She began cutting the confection into slices and serving her friends. Ooh, still bloody on the inside. Fluttershy was the first to take a bite. She instantly spat it out, gagging. Oh dear, it tastes horrible! Dash crossed her arms, rolling her eyes. I told you guys she tasted awful. The 6 friends laughed heartily. It had been a good day.
Yay.
Thank you.
I don't know. I don't know how to react to that.
What?
Cool, I love you. That was beautiful.